All right, you guys, 2023 trade deadline is over. And man, this might have been the best trade deadline we have ever seen. Like, the NBA this year, specifically in the West, is unreal. Like, there are so many teams that have a chance of winning, and they all made moves of some sort. So some were good, some were bad. Let's talk about them. We're just going to kind of start with, let's just start with the Kyrie Irving trade. Like, that was probably the biggest trade that happened to start like things off. And then after that, everyone started rolling. So February 5th, we had Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris going to Brooklyn for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, 2 second-round picks, and a 2029 first-round pick. So obviously Dallas gets maybe better. Like, they're better offensively, but they're now worse defensively. So I don't know how to like really look into that. I don't think either team really gained or lost anything too great in that. I think Brooklyn actually won that trade just because of Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith are good pieces to have on a team, and then you get picks. So, I mean, and you get rid of the Kyrie bug. Obviously, he wanted out. Next, we had small trade here between San Antonio and Miami. Dwayne Dedmon got traded. Pretty irrelevant. I think he ended up actually getting released. So he's on a buyout now if anyone wants to pick him up. Then we have Kessler Edwards from Brooklyn. And then they got the draft rights to David Mitchell. It's another small one. Nothing too big here. Let's get into probably the biggest trade that, like, with the amount of people in it that we saw this weekend, or this week, I should say. We had the Lakers acquiring D'Angelo Russell. Welcome back. We have Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt. So they got 3 really good players there. Like, I really like Malik Beasley. I think he's super slept on this late in his career, that he's really just kind of found his game, and definitely a good piece, unfortunately, for the Lakers. Yes, I don't like the Lakers that much, but that's a really good piece. And then you have Jared Vanderbilt. He plays defense. No one on the Lakers really plays defense. They needed someone that could come in and play defense for them. But Minnesota's getting Mike Conley Jr., Nickeil Anderson-Walker, Juan Toscano Anderson, Damian Jones, and then second-round draft picks, 3 of them. And then Utah's getting Russell Westbrook, who they are going to apparently release and allow for a buyout, and then 2027 Lakers first-round pick. Top 4 protected. So Russell Westbrook's interesting. I think someone is going to pick him up that is not a contender here in the next few days in a buyout situation. I would say the Suns are a good run for that one, but I heard in the media that the Bulls are actually the front runner for that. Don't know why they would pick him up. Doesn't really make sense. But Russell Westbrook, yes, he's not what he used to be, but still a solid player. The Lakers getting D'Angelo Russell is probably one of the biggest moves that they could have made. They really needed a primary ball handler that isn't Dennis Schroeder. They needed to get better if they wanted to get out of that 13 seed. So do I think the Lakers are going to win the West? I don't. I think that they do now have a roster that is a bit scary. I do think that if you catch them on the wrong 7-game series, they can probably beat most teams. Now we're looking at Josh Hart getting traded to the New York Knicks from Portland. Portland's getting Cam Reddish, Ryan Arcanado, and Savi. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Someone I've never heard of. And a 2023 first-round pick. So they actually gained a lot from that. That's like a very big package for Josh Hart. I do think Josh Hart is an underrated player in the NBA. He does everything that people don't want to do. Like, he's very good defensively. He rebounds he's probably the best rebounding guard in the league other than like Russell Westbrook, but like very good basketball player. He's like the guy in your team that just kind of ties everything together. Doesn't seem like great on the stat sheet, but great basketball player. Then you have Cam Reddish. I think he's going to help Portland out, but like they already have so many guys that can shoot on their team. I don't see why that was like a move for them. I mean, you can't not hurt, like, it doesn't hurt yourself by strengthening your bench, but Dame Lillard plays 40 minutes a night, so I don't know what they're going to really do with Cam Reddish, to be honest, but I like Cam Reddish. I just don't see why the fit in Portland. It just doesn't make sense to me. And then we had Podol going back to Toronto from San Antonio, and they got Khem Birch and a 2024 first-round pick and 2 future second-round picks. So Toronto wanted the guy back that they drafted. I think it's a good move for Toronto to get a center out there. It's kind of interesting because they already have like a pretty big lineup. Like they have Precious, they have Chris Boucher, and then they have Siakam, obviously. So I thought that this was going to lead to more from Toronto, but they were pretty quiet in the deadline. Everyone thought OG was going to get traded, but I'm going to assume that the market just got they asked for too much. And they just said, yeah, we'll keep him. Next, we had the obviously biggest trade out of any of them. We had Kevin Durant and TJ Warren going to the Suns, and then Brooklyn getting Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 first-round picks, and a 2028 first-round pick swap. So, with that trade, as a Suns fan, absolutely stoked. I mean, you can't go wrong with getting Kevin Durant. Like, you just can't. Kevin Durant is a top, at least 15 player all time. Like, at least. And arguably a top 5 scorer all time. So, I mean, you can't argue with it. It's a great trade for Phoenix. Obviously, getting rid of Mikal and Cam, you are losing, like, that. The team has a special bond. As a Suns fan, like, you don't see it very often, but every one of these guys enjoy being around each other. So, you saw it tonight. There was people talking about crying together. They were having a, like, literally cry fest, apparently, in the morning with them before they sent them off. Like, you know, it's emotional, but that's part of the game. Unfortunately, I didn't want to see Mikal Bridges in this trade because now we're kind of looking for a small forward for the Suns. But I think at the end of the day, both sides got very good deals in this. I do think maybe someday Mikal Bridges will come back to Phoenix, maybe Cam Johnson as well. But for the time being, Kevin Durant is in Arizona. No arguments here. Brooklyn, so deep. Crazy good job in the trade deadline for a team that obviously you thought maybe they would try to make a run at it this year with the 2 stars in Kyrie and KD, but it just didn't make sense. Boston got Mike Muscala from OKC and with Justin Jackson and 2 second-round picks going over to OKC. Pretty irrelevant. I don't see why Boston wanted a tall shooting player. I mean, he doesn't play that good of defense. I mean, I guess they just kind of want a little something to help out with Al Horford. I know he's getting a little bit older, so doesn't hurt just getting some depth on the team. Next, we have Milwaukee ended up getting the Jay Crowder from Brooklyn, and then Brooklyn got 2 second-round picks for him. And then Indiana got Jordan Nwora. Wow, I said that wrong. George Hill and then Serge Ibaka and 3 second-round picks out of that same trade package there. So Indiana, I think, came out really big on that. I think Serge Ibaka he might be getting bought out, I might have read, but those are just 3 solid basketball players for Indiana, and they needed to get deeper. Like, they have a lot of young talent right now, and Tyrese Halliburton might end up being like an all-time great point guard, the trajectory he's on right now. So they're just trying to get some better players around him. Are they going to make any noise yet? No, but they're getting good. They're looking good. So obviously Milwaukee with Jay Crowder, they just wanted someone that could play defense and 3-and-D. Jay Crowder does it pretty well. Next, we had Denver Nuggets getting Thomas Bryant from the Lakers for Devon Reed and 3 second-round picks. Such a weird trade. Thomas Bryant, first of all, how did he gain 3 second-round picks in Devon Reed status? Like, yes, he's played solid basketball this year, but Joker plays almost 40 minutes a night. So, obviously, they just wanted to get a little bit deeper on the back end of their bench. But there's another trade coming up here that we'll talk about that completely makes this like irrelevant. I don't know what Denver was doing. They're obviously really good already and didn't need to make many moves. Like, their starting 5 is one of the best in basketball. This one was another one that really just didn't make sense to me. So we had Philly getting Jalen McDaniels from Charlotte, Portland getting Matisse Thybulle, and then Charlotte getting Save, Mike, whatever his name is. Can't even say it. Don't even know who he is. And then multiple second-round picks. So let's talk about the main part of this trade. Jalen McDaniels is now a Philadelphia 76er. But they got rid of Matisse Thybulle. They're the same player. They literally do the exact same thing. They play awesome defense. Some of the best defense in the NBA. But, like, why get rid of them? I don't get why Philly would trade Thybulle to just get Jalen McDaniels. Probably something to do with contracts and whatnot, but doesn't really make a lot of sense to me in the short term. Next, we had Detroit getting James Wiseman for 5 second-round picks. It was so weird. And then it ends up jumping around a few different times. There's 4 teams involved in this. Atlanta ended up with Saddiq Bey from Detroit. Golden State ended up with Gary Payton II from Portland, and Portland ended up with Kevin Knox from Detroit and 5 second-round picks. So, very interesting. Basically, what ended up happening was the Warriors essentially swapped James Wiseman for Gary Payton Jr. And then Saddiq Bey is randomly in Atlanta, which doesn't really make sense. They already have enough like small forwards / guards that can shoot. So, don't think Atlanta gets any better, but it doesn't hurt, like I've been saying, for most of these teams to like get deeper. Like Atlanta's been really hot lately, so maybe they're like, hey, if we just added something else to the bench, maybe we can fix like those bench minutes and we can maybe make a run, because their bench is talented, but Saddiq Bey's got a little bit more credentials under his belt. Gary Payton Jr. is going to be big for Golden State, obviously trying to stop, say, the Suns and that kind of a run. Or shoot, even someone like Jamal Murray right now. Jamal Murray's back on his game, so he picked him up for just strictly defense. Other than that, these other teams really are irrelevant. The Lakers went out and got Mo Bamba. See, this is where the Thomas Bryant one doesn't make any sense. So, like, why get rid of Thomas Bryant to go get Mo Bamba when they both do the exact same thing, and they're both, like, low IQ basketball players, but, like, somewhat talented, you know? It's weird. And then Orlando got Patrick Beverley in a second-round pick. I'm assuming they just wanted to dump Beverley. Like, why would Orlando want him? I'm assuming he's going to get bought out. Like, there's going to be a chance that he's going to end up on another competing team. But Patrick Beverley, at this point in his career, he's a bench player. I don't care what anyone says. He's there to play defense, and that's it. Then the Clippers went out and did something that really made no sense to me. The Clippers went and got Mason Plumlee for Reggie Jackson in a second-round pick. Does Plumlee really hold that much value? Like, I don't see where that makes sense to them. Like, I understand he's having a solid year, but you got rid of another shooter. Like, Reggie Jackson is a very solid shooter. I know they've been, like, between John Wall and Kennard and Jackson, they've been, like, juggling it all year with injuries and whatnot, but it just didn't make sense. And it makes even less sense when you hear the next trade. So, the Clippers traded for Eric Gordon. I wonder if they have a player that would be weird, like a similar to Eric Gordon. Oh yeah, Reggie Jackson. They almost do the exact same thing. So like, why? You know? And then they actually traded Luke Kennard to Memphis, which why are you giving up pieces to get, like, combine Luke Kennard and Reggie Jackson together and like you get Eric Gordon, but it doesn't equal out to the same, because Luke Kennard is arguably the best 3-point shooter in the NBA. Like, he is so consistent from 3. And now he's on Memphis, so they allowed the West to get stronger, which doesn't make any sense for the Clippers. But then Houston, in the bottom of all of this, is getting John Wall and Danny Green in the situation, and a 2023 first-round pick swap. So John Wall is back to the place that he didn't want to be in, and I feel bad for the guy, but he's probably just going to get bought out. Like, he's going to just get released and bought out. So it's going to be interesting to see where he lands. I think from what we've seen from John Wall this year, he is still a very capable point guard. Like, if he played starter minutes, he would still average close to 10 assists. Like, he has some of the best vision that we've ever seen in the NBA. Is he as good of a scorer in this day and age? No, because his game was getting to the rim and all these injuries and everything. It's not as good. And he's never going to be a great shooter. He's kind of like Russell Westbrook, but like more dynamic in some ways, and Russ was more dynamic in others, you know? It's kind of weird. Russ obviously has a better career. But next, we have New Orleans getting Josh Richardson from San Antonio for Devontae Graham and 4 second-round picks. So this is New Orleans trying to just get a little deeper. It's a great move on their part. Josh Richardson has a ton of potential, and they just need to get a little bit deeper. If New Orleans gets healthy, like, everyone's going to be talking about these other teams, but New Orleans is going to be right up in there. Next, we have Phoenix, and they made another trade. They got rid of Dario Saric and a second-round pick for Darius Bazley. So Darius Bazley, for those that don't know him, he's a flyer. He is crazy athletic. He's shooting actually 40% from 3. Not a lot of minutes for OKC, but it's a good trade. I think the Suns get deeper on that, and OKC gets something that they need in Sark, which is some size. They have 0 size, so, and they traded away one of their sizes. So. And then last but not least, we have Houston getting Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky for Garrison Matthews and Bruno Fernando. So probably the worst trade for last to end the trade deadline for what could have been potentially the greatest trade deadline we've ever seen. Like, all these trades that I just gave you happen within like a 2-hour span. The ones past the KD trade. Like, nothing really happened in the morning this morning, and then it was just like, bam, 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 bam. So, fantastic day to be in the NBA. Super excited for the West, man. The West, as a Suns fan, is going to be brutal. And then the East is going to literally just be the Celtics versus the 76ers, and probably going to be a cakewalk to the championship for the Celtics, if you ask me. But obviously, Embiid can say otherwise if he plays really well. So, man, whoever gets out of the West is going to be bruised and beaten by the time they get out. So, I'm excited to see how this plays out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today. Have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.